By the way, you know they have a celebration of them on September the 5th. Trump celebrating the J6 people. I thought my boss, President Clinton, made an undeniable point of Democratic policy. Since the end of the Cold War, there have been 51 million jobs created in the United States. 50 million were created under Democratic presidents and 1 million under Republican presidents.
You know, that's
50 to 1.
You've got to be able to tie. If you're going to make claims like that, first of all, I love you. I love Clinton. It's a thing to say.
Okay.
Because as we both know, am I right?
Yeah.
As we both know, jobs created, it has a lot to do with what the last guy did. Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall. Did that have anything to do with the collapse in 2008 of the economy? I think it did. So maybe some of the jobs that were lost.
I'm sorry.
It's just a.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You ever watch a guest walk onto Real Time with Bill Maher thinking they're about to drop some groundbreaking political wisdom, only get completely shut down by Maher himself? Well, that just happened again, and it was absolutely epic. Here's what went down. Maher invited James Carville, the well-known Democratic strategist. You know him as the Raging Cajun, the guy who helped Bill Clinton rise to power and spend decades taking shots at Republicans. Carville came in confident, ready to roll out those classic Democratic talking points like it was still the 1990s. But this time, Maher wasn't having it. What followed was a brutal reality check that showed just how far the far left has drifted, not only from conservatives, but even from its own moderate supporters. Grab a drink, because this one gets heated. IT started with Carville bragging, really bragging, about how Democrats have supposedly created 50 million jobs since the end of the Cold War, compared to Republicans' 1 million. Sound impressive, right? A big 50 to 1 flex. That's the kind of stat you throw out expecting applause. But Maher didn't clap. He didn't even nod. Instead, he hit back hard. He reminded Carville that job creation doesn't work like a scoreboard. You can't just count numbers and declare victory. Economic growth doesn't happen in isolation. Each administration inherits policies and momentum from the last one. Clinton, for instance, benefited from the economic foundation built by Reagan and Bush Sr., and Maher didn't stop there. He brought up how Clinton repealed Glass-Steagall, the banking regulation that later helped set the stage for the 2008 financial crisis. So sure, you might have created millions of jobs, but if your policies help trigger a recession down the line, maybe that's not something to brag about. Maher pressed further. He made it clear, numbers without context are meaningless. The left loves to boast. Look how many jobs we created. But what kind of jobs are they? Are they steady, full-time positions with real wages, or just low-paying gigs that barely keep up with inflation? That was Maher's point, and it hit hard, because it's not about job quantity. It's about job quality. You can shout about creating millions of new positions, but if people still can't afford rent, are drowning in debt, and working 2 or 3 side jobs just to survive, that's not progress. It's politics dressed up as success. And that's when the moment came. Maher looked right at Carville and said, "I'm an ally until you lie." A total mic drop moment.
And the other thing I think we've been pretty aligned on is that the Democrats do better when they're center-left and not far-left.
Certainly.
It's better policy and it wins elections.
Right.
How do you think they did their convention with convincing the country that they are now back to the center left as opposed to the far left?
Well, first of all, you and I agreed, but that was one tough extraction, getting Biden out of the race.
Yes, it was.
Anyway, we brought in the head of oral surgery at UCLA, Nancy Pelosi. You and I were like a couple of hygienists, like hacking away at it. But Dr. Nancy came in and did it.
Maher, who's been a voice of the left for decades, just told one of the party's top strategists that he's done playing along with their spin. That's huge. This wasn't just another debate. It was a reflection of something much bigger. Even longtime liberals are starting to realize how far the left has drifted, especially the far left. And Maher has been warning about this for years. He said it time and time again. Democrats are at their best when they're center-left, not when they chase the extremes. And he's right. When they focus on practical issues, like improving healthcare, fixing education, and protecting the environment responsibly, they win. But when they lose themselves in pronoun wars, speech policing, and denying basic biological facts, they lose the middle completely That's what Maher meant when he said Democrats win when they sound like America. Because lately, even moderate liberals feel like the left doesn't actually like America anymore. And honestly, he's not wrong.
And the country wanted something different. And the Democrats, they weren't looking for ethnic cleansing. They weren't looking for a war. They weren't looking for a new entitlement. The country wanted something different than Trump and Biden, and we gave it to them. And I'm not surprised the country's responding favorably. I really not.
Yeah, I thought that, for one thing, they liked America, which, has been a problem with the left in recent years. They didn't sound like they liked America too much.
Just look at what's happened in recent years. We've seen protests where people burn the American flag or replace it with activist banners. We've seen the White House hang the pride flag front and center while pushing Old Glory to the side. We've seen universities treat patriotism like something outdated or shameful. That's not unity. It's division dressed up as progress. Congressman Dan Crenshaw joined the discussion and called out the double standard. He pointed out how Democrats suddenly remembered to love America during election season. But once the votes are in, it's back to tearing down the flag and rewriting history. And he's right. Patriotism isn't supposed to be seasonal. You don't just love your country when it's convenient. You either love it, flaws and all, or you don't. But the left seems confused about that lately. That's why, as both Maher and Crenshaw noted, Democrats are struggling. They've turned into a party built on slogans instead of solutions. It's all hashtags, vibes, and celebrity support. But when it comes to real policy, silence.
The Democrats have done a better job at job creation, but it's not 50-1. So don't lie to me. You know what? I'm an ally till you lie.
Please fact check. Either Bill's right or I'm right.
Well,
fact check.
but the numbers don't necessarily mean.
Okay. But it's 50-1.
You understand what my.
We had the lowest unemployment in 50 years under Trump. And again, you have to associate an outcome with policies. And you can't tell me what Biden policy resulted in better jobs. If we're increasing our jobs.
Also, there was a pandemic that had a lot to do with it.
There's a massive.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's a thing.
Again,
Even Carville admitted, in his own way, that Democrats have lost their focus. Deep down, they know they're still recovering from the Kamala Harris failure. Think about it. She had every advantage. Establishment backing, media hype, plenty of funding. Yet she couldn't connect with voters. Why? Because she stood for nothing. Her campaign wasn't about solving problems. It was about identity and branding that might work for headlines, but it doesn't help everyday people. Crenshaw summed it up perfectly. At the end of the day, voters care about what actually improves their lives. Wages, jobs, cost of living, and security. And on every single one of those, Trump outperformed.
A good show. Right? It's full of hope and joy, and I get it. Like, that's great. Starry-eyed views of optimism of the future. But on policy, not so great. And in the end, this is going to be about policy. They were very light on that. Why? Because they don't want to contend with the fact that they own the last 4 years of policy. We do have a very unique opportunity here where we have two candidates where you can look at 4 years and 4 years. You know exactly what they're going to do, and you know exactly what the outcomes are. And on every metric, Donald Trump wins on this. And so that's what we're going to keep pushing this election toward, is what are the metrics that will actually make your life better? Donald Trump wins on this, on the policy and the outcomes associated with that.
You don't have to be a Trump fan to admit that during his time, the economy was booming. Wages were going up, especially for lower-income workers. Regulations were being rolled back, small businesses were thriving, inflation was low, and unemployment hit record lows. Those are plain facts. Then Biden came in and everything flipped. Inflation skyrocketed. Energy costs exploded. Housing became unaffordable. And the Democrat solution? More spending, more regulations, and more culture wars. It's like they're allergic to common sense at S.O. when Carville threw out that same tired. We created 50 million jobs, line again. Maher just looked at him like, really?
by the way, you know they're having a celebration of them on September the 5th. Trump celebrating the J6 people. I thought my boss, President Clinton, made an undeniable point of Democratic policy. Since the end of the Cold War, there have been 51 million jobs created in the United States. 50 million were created under Democratic presidents and 1 million under Republican presidents.
You know, that's
50 to 1.
You've got to be able to tie. If you're going to make claims like that.
First of all, I love you. I love Clinton. That's a thing to say.
Okay.
Because as we both know, am I right?
Yeah.
As we both know, jobs created, it has a lot to do with what the last guy did. Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall. Did that have anything to do with the collapse in 2008 of the economy? I think it did. So maybe some of the jobs that were lost.
I'm sorry.
It's just a.
Because the truth is, that number doesn't mean much when inflation wipes out people's paychecks and grocery prices keep climbing. That's exactly what Maher meant when he said, you have to tie policy to outcomes. You can't just toss out big numbers and hope people ignore what their wallets are telling them. That's why this exchange hit so deeply. It wasn't only about jobs or the economy. It exposed the mindset of the far left as a whole.
Tie a policy to an outcome. I can tie policies from Donald Trump to outcomes. So you cut taxes, you cut regulations. What does that do? It makes it easier to do business and hire people. So you're going to have job growth. You had 8% wage increase after inflation under Donald Trump before the pandemic. Actually, 16% if you're talking about the lowest quintile of earners. Under Biden, it's been 0. So on every metric, he wins, and I can go down the list.
I guess that crime is down 30%. The stock market is up. The metrics that y'all choose are just BS metrics.
No, I choose metrics.
They become masters at performing progress instead of delivering it. They hold massive conventions filled with celebrities, banners, and speeches about unity. It all looks polished on TV, but it's just theater. Crenshaw nailed it. They put on a great show, but they're bad at governing. That one sentence perfectly describes today's Democratic Party.
I will never criticize Democrats for putting on a good show. I will never criticize Democrats for being good at politics. What I criticize Democrats for is being bad at policy and governing. They put on a great show. They got those celebrities in there. They dusted off those American flags that they had previously held in the attic or burned occasionally. And then they brought them out for that freedom wave.
Very few Democrats burned
the Democrat activists burned down cities. We, as members of Congress, just a few weeks ago, we had to go put American flags back up over Union Station in Washington, D.C.
While they're busy congratulating themselves, real issues like education, the economy, and national security keep getting worse. Take education, for example. Maher dropped another truth bomb near the end. This country simply has no education standards anymore. And he's absolutely right. We're at a point where kids graduate high school without basic reading, writing, or math skills. Schools have turned into ideological battlegrounds where politics matters more than learning. Instead of teaching history, they're teaching activism. Instead of rewarding effort and achievement, they reward identity. Teachers are told to focus on equity over excellence, and anyone who questions it is branded hateful. Meanwhile, students fall further behind. Test scores drop. Colleges lower standards. And when those same kids enter the real world, they're not ready for it.
This country simply has no education standards anymore. They will let you out of a public high school and give you a diploma, and you don't have to actually know anything, which used to be the mission of schools, knowing things. I know it's super important to stop the grooming of our kids, or, I don't know, to start it. And certainly critical race theory must be stricken from the curriculum, or who knows, maybe included in all of it. But, you know, while we're having those fights, could someone please notice that the kids don't actually know?
It's sad. And it didn't have to happen. We don't need schools that indoctrinate. We need schools that educate. We need classrooms that teach kids how to think, not what to think. Thankfully, some leaders are starting to push back. They're saying, no more DI nonsense, no more race-based guilt lessons, no more social engineering. Let's get back to basics. Reading, writing, math, and merit. That's what builds a strong country, not virtue signaling or identity politics. And that's exactly what Maher's been saying lately. The far left has lost touch with reality. It's gotten so extreme that even its own icons are speaking out. When someone like Maher, who helped define the modern left, starts sounding conservative, you know something seriously wrong. He's not switching sides. He's calling for sanity, for a return to classic liberalism that valued free speech, reason, and open debate, the kind that could disagree without losing its mind, the kind that still loved America. That's why this clash with Carville hit so hard. It wasn't just Maher roasting another guest. It symbolized a much larger reckoning across the country.
As I travel this country on weekends doing stand-up now, I see the political ads that are running on the local TV markets, and I think, how can this possibly work on people? And then I remember, oh yes, they think Queen Elizabeth is from Egypt. when again, plainly, it's Brazil.
As Maher joked during one of his stand-up shows, when I watch local political ads, I wonder, how can this actually work on people? Then I remember some of them think Queen Elizabeth is from Egypt. Laughter, when obviously it's Brazil. That line sums it up perfectly. People are tired of fake outrage, culture wars, and endless virtue signaling. They want leaders who fix problems, not ones who create new ones. Leaders who care about results, not retweets. That's why Trump's message, love it or hate it, still connects with millions. It's based on common sense, hard work, and pride in America. Meanwhile, the left keeps doubling down on ideas that alienate everyone else. To the end of the day, Maher said it best. I'll stand with you until you lie. That single line defines this whole debate. Because honesty, logic, and accountability aren't partisan. They're American values, so yes, Maher roasted his guests. But what he really burned down was the illusion that the far left still speaks for everyday Americans. It doesn't. The country is waking up. And if you're one of those people, hit that like button. Because it's time for real conversations again. No more spin. No more slogans. Just truth. America deserves better than empty promises and political theater. It deserves leaders who believe in merit, accountability, and freedom. Not censorship, cancel culture, and chaos. Here's the bottom line. The far left experiment has failed. It's time to rebuild with common sense, real patriotism, and pride in the values that made this country great. Because when we get back to that, that's when America wins again. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me, do you think Maher is turning the tide, or is it already too late for the left to return to reality? See you in the next one.